Hello, good afternoon, guys. Welcome to MK Community Brokerage. My name is Mohammed. In this video, I'm gonna go on some of the practice test question on the Educating All Student exam. A little bit about the EAS exam. It's an exam of it's testing teachers based on special needs students. It's not a new test. It's been the test had a different name prior, so they just changed it to EAS. It's basically the same exact thing. Every teacher, no matter what subject area, no matter if you're teaching kindergarten, elementary, high school, or whatever the case is, you will be taking this test. This test is a mandatory for all teachers, so keep that in mind. So some of the test questions I'm gonna go over is gonna be random. So I just want to give you the taste of the test questions that they will ask you during the exam. The exam will have approximately about 40 questions, and they will have short response answers as well. The bulk of the questions, the bulk of the exam, 70% of exam is basically multiple choice. 30% of exams is written responses. Try to spend your time more on the multiple choice than written exam. The written part, should I say? The written part is not much. You do good at the multiple choice, you're gonna do good in the written exam part, where you're writing essays and everything. And it's very easy, to be honest with you. As long as you follow the format, you should be okay. But if you don't do good in the multiple choice part and you spend most of your time in the essay part, you will regret it because you will not get a good score, should I say. There's a chance you might pass, don't get me wrong, you might, wing it, what a lot of people say, but a lot of people need good test preparation. My word of advice, read through the multiple choice questions. Read through them because the passages are very long. This is just a sample. Some of the questions you'll see is a sample, but the real exam there's gonna be long passages, and you have to answer the question based on passages. Okay, so keep that in mind. It's very different. It's a unique test. A lot of people don't realize it, but you have to spend time on this. So let's get started in question one. Which statement is accurate about parental and students' right related to students receiving special education service? Well, the correct answer, I'm going to read it on the bottom. When students receive special education for eligible disabilities, reach the age of majority or 18 years, their parents' education right transfers to them, the same as for students without disabilities. One exemption is when a court assigns a legal guardian who holds a student's education right. And another exception is when the school district assigns an education representative because the student is certified unable to make educational decision. A qualified adult or students can always challenge certification. So again, when students are receiving educational disabilities and when they reach the age of 18, their parents no longer have any education rights on the students. So the student becomes an adult. So then they give the education rights to them. The only exception is like when the student is severely disabled and they're not able to make any decisions. Because we do have students in a classroom where they're not really special need, but they might have a behavior problem or they might have some other type of problem like learning disorder or dyslexia or whatever the case is, but they are be able to make competent decision. So based on this statement, they're basically saying that the student is able to make the decision. A qualified adult could challenge certification or whatever the case is. Basically, that's the answer. Number two, among rights students in special education gain at age 18, which of the following is included? Now you read the correct choices over here. Which one could it be? Is it A, the right to understand district progress measurement rather than a progress report? Is it B, the right to be provided transportation or physical therapy as needed but not counseling? Is it C, the right to be provided necessary accommodation in classroom but not IEP meeting? Or D, the right to request an evaluation and have it completed within 35 school days of consent? Now, whichever answer is, I want you to let me know because I'm going to let you guys pick and choose some of the questions. It's always good to see where you fall into this category, but reading through it, you should know what the answer is coming into it. 3. For students receiving special education service at the age of 18 years, which choice most correctly represents legal education right they have? The answer for this is going to be when students receiving special education service are 18 years old, they generally have the right to disagree with any school evaluation of them and to request independent educational evaluations. However, schools are legally required to provide their own evaluation at no charge, but not outside evaluations. Students have right to review their educational records and IEPs and receives copies of the IEP at no charge, and to request medication or due process hearing and file citizen complaints for special education disputes. So again, when they reach the age of 18, they can always request medication due process and hearing, and they can file a complaint against them. Keep that in mind. They are students, and they can, but they also have rights and everything. So keep that in mind. It's not the same as a child is under 18, because the child under 18 is still qualified with their parents and everything. Number 4, which choice best represents the right of special education? Students when they reach the age of majority. Answer again. At 18, special education students have the legal right to membership on their IEP teams and participation in their IEP meetings. If their rights have not yet transferred from their parents, students may participate in their IEP meetings whenever appropriate. Their rights include to have an IEP meeting within 30 calendar days after eligibility determination, not evaluation completion, to be informed if an IEP team member cannot attend the meeting, and agree with the school to excuse that member and to invite others to join their IEP team, including those outside home and school. Well, what an IEP is, I'm going to let you know. IEP is considered as an individual education program. A lot of students that have IEP is basically what it means is they're not meaning they're special needs, but they are needing something certain categories. What do I mean by that? Let's say, for example, some students might need help with writing skills. They might have some type of issue with the hand and they're not able to write, and they are considered into the IEP standard. Some students might have a little bit problem with something, but they're considered IEP standards. The teachers usually based on if they're recommended to become IEP or not. Now, not every student it is. IEP, you will never, a regular person will never know if this person has IEP, if he has Behavior International Plan or anything. If you go to a regular general ed school, you will never know about it. They're very discreet on that part. So keep that in mind. You will never know who is who. Alright? Number 5, of the following statement, which is true regarding special education student rights related to transition service in public school. Going back over here. Skip over here. Current federal law, the answer, which I obviously I want you to look over through this as well. Current federal law requires public schools receiving federal funding to set as appropriate measure when IEP goals for transition to post-secondary living by the student's 16th birthday. Age 14 was an older regulation, changed to age 16 in the 2004 IDEA reauthorization. This law requires the student's IEP to specify both transition goals and which transition services the student requires. Transition goals must be based on age-appropriate transition, evaluation of student education, training, employment, and independent living skills. If they find it appropriate, IEP teams may begin the transition planning for students younger than 16, not older. Okay. Number 6. Which of these do expert advise teachers to do to be culturally responsive when interacting with linguistically diverse parents? In some situation, it is acceptable for students to interpret for their parents. In some situation. In these cases, experts advise teachers to make eye contact with the parents, not the interpreting child, to show immigrating parents the importance of their role in their children's education. Teachers themselves must treat the parents as important by honoring and respecting them. Experts advise teachers to help parents overwhelmed by all this situation. Now, you have to understand, sometimes students do become introverted for the parents, because a lot of students, their diverse classroom, you will have diverse students speaking languages. A lot of times, parents themselves do not speak English. They have a hard time understanding English and everything. So keep that in mind. Students could, work as an interpreter with the parents, but you have to make eye contact with the parents, which is kind of respectful. You basically give them respect. By looking at them and everything. If common sense dictates that you have to, if the child is speaking, you don't want to just keep looking at the child. If you're a teacher in the classroom, you still want to give eye contact to the parent in order for them to know that, I understand what you're saying and I agree with you. At least you're becoming, you're acting as an interpreter as well, because the student is also telling the parent what you're saying. So keep that in mind. Which statement is accurate about parental and students' right relative to students receiving special education services? If a student is certified unable to make educational decisions, only a qualified adult can challenge that certification. And you have to look at a qualified adult. For district to assign education representative, a student must be certified unable to make educational decisions. Special education students with court-appointed legal guardians still have parental rights transferred to them at 18. Parental rights do not transfer to students with disabilities when they reach majority, so rights do other students. Again, keep this in mind. A child when they're they have the rights, the full education rights when they're 18 years of age or older. Only certain couple of exceptions starts and everything, so keep that in mind. Among rights the student in special education gain at age 18, which the following is included. The right to request reevaluation, the right to be provided transportation, the right to be understand district progress measurement, the right to be provided necessary accommodation in classroom but not IEP meetings. Keep that in mind. You have to choose which of the options is the correct one. Unfortunately, I thought they would be numbers, but they didn't put the numbers over here. Keep this in mind. Students are entitled at age 18 years of age to receive needed accommodation. Not only the classroom, but also during IEP meetings. A lot of times, teachers might have meetings with one another while certain students, which is considered as IEP meetings. They try to understand how the school district measure is progressing towards that student, how to, what goals do they need, how everything is, what type of therapy that student needs, or occupational therapy, a lot of times depending on what it is. So keep that in mind, that's what they're basically saying. Last but not least, I'm just going to read this question. I don't think I have the whole answer for this, but going back over here. For students receiving a special education service at the age of 18 years, which choice most correctly represents legal education rights they have? The answer for this is when students receive special education services are 18 years old, they generally have the right to disagree with any school evaluation of them, as long as they're 18 years of age and older. That's a key question. And to request independent educational evaluation. However, schools are legally required to provide their own evaluation at no charge. School could also evaluate you, but they don't have to charge you at all. But not outside evaluation. So let's say, for example, if a student brings in like some outside evaluator, the school does not have to pay for that. You're going to end up paying for that pocket. Students have the right to review the education records and IEP and receive copies of the IEP at no charge, because the Board of Education is a City of New York school and private schools as well. Like if you look in any general schools, but student it's considered IEP meeting, IEP and everything. Keep that in mind. The school does not have the school can give you their copies of the IEP at no charge, and you can request them at any time. And if not, then you can always file a citizen complaint for special education disputes. With that being said, that's about it. Unfortunately, I don't have the whole thing, but you may read through it. And if you find the answer, obviously put it in the chat below and let me know what the answer is. But basically, this is just a sample and taste. I was able to accumulate some of the questions and upload it in my scanner just to prove it, just to prove and show to you that how these type of questions are asked during when you take the exam and everything. The exam is not easy. I'm not gonna lie to you. The exam is kind of in the middle difficult, like in the medium difficult level. It's not that hard, but it's not that easy. You have to study a little bit. If more will work more if you spend time like in a group study or something, like with a group of people or something, that might help as well. That's very helpful because then you could share answers. You could get to know what it is, because a lot of times the paragraphs are very confusing, and like it give you like a whole bunch of paragraph. It takes about 5 to 10 minutes to read the paragraph, and then the questions are asking something even else. Not even related to the whole paragraph, like because they give you a paragraph, then they give you some other points as well. So keep that in mind. That's very, very confusing. With that being said, thank you again, guys, for watching this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you guys have any other questions, comment, concern, please comment, like, subscribe. I'll try my best in my part to help you out as much as possible to clarify any confusion you guys have. Thank you again, guys, for watching this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thank you.